Now, you guys have worked hard and your app interface is just about done. But in real life, our app interface would probably have more screens to it, whether we're designing a concept or designing an entire app. And with that, we have a lot of redundancy between elements from screen to screen. And this is one of the coolest and most important features of Sketch. It is called the symbol, and it allows us to synchronize repeating elements between screens or between pages within a single Sketch file. So if we look down here at the bottom of our interface, we've got our control box here with our rewind, our fast forward, and our play pause button. That is also on this screen over here. And if I change one, normally I'd have to go and copy and paste what I did from one screen to the other. But with symbols, you do not have to do that. It's really cool. So essentially, you want to look at things in terms of how they repeat. In our case, this entire bottom control area repeats, and it's probably going to repeat the same way just about every time that it appears on every screen where it appears. Sometimes it might be play instead of pause, but for our purposes, let's just say that we want a symbol for this entire control area down here at the bottom. So what we're going to do is select all of these objects down here. And we want to get them into a group, which I've cheated. I've already done that. But you want to press Command G to get those into a group. And I happen to call my group Control Box. And now with that Control Box group selected, you want to go and choose Symbol, where it says No Symbol over here on the right. And you want to create a new symbol. And when you do that, it automatically takes on the name of the group. So my group is already named Control Box. My symbol is automatically named Control Box. And I'm cool with that name. I'm going to hit Return to save that name in there. And now my Control Box is a symbol that I can reuse later. Now, what's really cool is if I didn't already have it over here on this screen on the right-hand side, let me delete that. I could go and choose Insert followed by Symbol, and then I could choose Control Box. It gets set aside on the symbol menu so I can insert it at any time, and then I can put it where I need it to go. Now that's the first cool part. The second cool part is that if I make a change, if I change anything about it, if I move the buttons around, you can see it's happening on both of my screens at the same time. And if I had 100 screens with this Control Box on them, they would all change at the same time. If I decide against my color here, if I decide to make this ring a different color, let's say I make it white, it changes to white. If I make it black, it changes to black everywhere. So I never have to worry about how many times I've used the same thing, because software is about not doing the same thing twice. We use software so that we don't have to do the same tasks over and over and over again. And this feature of this application is a great example of software saving us a ton of time. So let's take a look at what happens if we have a more minor element. Like I've got this little element up here that repeats. I've also got the bar which repeats. And anytime I have this back button, I also have this bar. So I'm going to select the back button and I'm going to select the bar and I'm going to hit Command G to put them into their own group. Now the reason I didn't take the text and I didn't take the little symbol on the right is because that changes. The text is going to change from screen to screen most likely. And now I'm going to reposition that so that way it shows up in the right place here. So the text and the icon that are not in that group are still on top. Now with that selected, I'm going to go over and choose symbol. I'm going to do the same thing, create new symbol. And menu bar plus back icon is the name, and I'm going to leave it at that. You guys can assign whatever name you like. And now here's another interesting thing about symbols. If I go over here and I select this back button and I select this menu bar and I group them together and I position it the same way. What's really cool about this is even though I already have a group here and I've already got my elements established, I can go and I can click on the symbol and switch it to menu bar plus back icon. It's going to take that group and it's going to apply the contents of the symbol. It's going to replace the contents of the group with the content of that symbol, which in this case yields no change, but it allows me to now synchronize the two between one another. They're now all synced up. So if I decide to change the position of this, it automatically changes. If I change the appearance, anything about it at all, it's going to automatically update in every instance where this has been used. It also makes my symbols purple. They're purple little folder icons, so I can identify where a symbol is being used. So if I am making a change that I only want to apply to one object, I don't want it to apply everywhere, let's say I need one screen that has a play button instead of a pause button. Instead of changing this from pause to play and changing every screen where I need a pause button, I would first want to detach this from the symbol, and I can do so by switching it back from control box to no symbol. It just goes back to being a regular group, doesn't affect any of my other symbols, and any of the changes that I make now will not affect any of my other symbols. So it gives me a ton of flexibility. Another thing to keep in mind when you're creating a lot of symbols is that you can organize them. And for example, let's say I got my control box here, right? And if I go over, I can organize my symbols here, right? So when I choose organize symbols, I'm able to go in and rename them. And when I rename them, what I can do is I can type in controls/control box, and it's going to create a group called controls. And if I do the same here, let's say this is also control related. I'll name this controls/. It's going to put them into a group together. So where is that group? You don't see any evidence of a group on the screen. I'll hit close, and now in the future when I go to insert and I choose symbol, I now have a controls group. And when I go to controls, I've got these little guys. So I could have a group called icons. I can do icons/back button, icons/list button, etc., and create respective groups that keep me very organized, even if I have a ton of symbols. So it's a really fantastic feature, and you can keep yourself organized or you can create chaos, so be careful with it, but it's going to save you a ton of time.